What is going on, everybody? We are back. Tornado Tag, trying things a little differently, a different platform here. We're using StreamYard, not StreamYard, Streamlabs tonight. So if things look a little different or sound a little different, or maybe looking at the levels right now, probably too loud. So let's bring those down. Check 1, 2. Hopefully that sounds better. So yeah, we're figuring things out and going from there. So welcome everybody to the Great Debate 2024 between myself, BP, with moderator Lilly, and we'll be going over we went over 2 topics this week. Sean 1 week, Brett the other, and now we collide tonight for our great debate. And who would you vote for maybe a candidate of professional wrestling, someone to speak for the boy? I don't know. What's the actual debate for? Is it for the greatest of all time? Is this for who you would run to?
I don't think either's the greatest of all time.
I don't think so either. I'm going to be honest.
It's just a debate in general.
Yeah.
I have lots of questions.
It's who better, Brett versus Daniel.
Yeah.
Who better?
Before we get into it, BP, what's been new with you? Anything wrestling wise or just in general?
Yeah. PPW Thriller was this past weekend. Some interesting stuff going on there. New No Limits champion Sugar Dan Stofko, who's been a guest here on your show.
Will be a future guest. It's been recorded, but if you pay that premium money, you can go watch it now. If you want to,
you got to pay to see the champ. You got to pay to see the champ.
Yeah.
Right. South Philly's finest regaining the PPW tag titles.
Is that what 750? Oh, 9.
9 times.
Wow.
Tag team champions. Cut short that Vetrano brothers' reign at 1 month, unfortunately for the Vetranos. But I don't think we've seen the end of that one. And the main event was a barn burner. Facade VSK. If you look at PPW social media, PPW Entertainment, there is an amazing video. We had a drone photographer there who took drone shots outside the building during the show. It's a 6-minute video. It is phenomenal. That is going to be the big plug. Check out that video. Check out also PPW Entertainment on X, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook tonight. The people at the show know the main event for next month. It was announced at the show, but we're going to announce it to the general public tonight as well around 8 o'clock.
Awesome. Yeah, I got Jersey this weekend. We're doing kilowatts or watts hardcore wrestling, something like that. It's a little side project for my boy. I'm going to show him a little love, support, be that representation with Luca for the Wild LLC to represent this illustrious high tension.
Not so much representation for your buddy. Or you mean your buddy Dr. Ethan Wild?
Yeah, we're going to be going there as representation for Wild LLC for this to really hold the mantle for high tension wrestling and bring that class to a deathmatch show that I don't know how we're going to do, but we'll try our best. Damon Dante is going to be in the crosshairs. Luca Mancini, kid's done. He's done. It's over. Just ring the bell now. Match isn't even. Just roll the credits.
Is there going to be a bell, and will somebody get hit with it?
We'll make sure. Damon Dante takes one to the dome, and if he brings that big energy kid, he's getting one too.
As Bobby Heenan once said many times, what the hell, use the bell.
Yeah, that's what it's there for, right? Got to ring his bell. Also, if you're in the 570 area, go check out New Era Pro Wrestling this weekend at the Falcon's Nest. Do a Bateman's Revenge. It's going to be a great show. Unfortunately, will not be able to be in attendance, but I will be at the next one. I 100% promise. Wrestling news, BP. AEW kind of coming off a pretty rough week to lead up, then had a decent, everyone's talking about the pay-per-view, really liked it. I have yet to see it.
I didn't see it either. I was at PPW, so we were running the same night. But it looks like the full-time career of Bryan Danielson has come to an end.
I'm glad you're saying full-time career, because the rest of these idiots online are like, he's retired, he's done. You're going to still see him wrestle.
Not for a while, probably. Not for a while, because I guess a lot of the stuff about his neck was legit. His neck is in really bad shape. He's going in for surgery. Neck surgery, neck injuries tend to be lengthy injuries. But I would think maybe by what are we calling it? Y'all in.
Yes, y'all in.
By y'all in, that could be y'all in, Return of the Dragon.
Yeah. Are you calling to Texas with us?
I don't know. That's a bit of a flight. That's a bit of a haul.
Well,
That's not too bad.
Not too bad.
I've done it a few times.
But yeah, so the other big news this month, and of course, I believe there were some other title changes. Again, I didn't see the show, so I'm not 100% up to speed, but I do believe Konosuke Takeshita did win the international title.
Yes.
And I think that was the only other title change. No, I know Brian Cage. Brian Cage
won
the ROH
television
title during 0 Hour. And Rico came back.
Yeah, Rico returned. And Adam Cole returned.
Adam Cole, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, came back.
It looks like they're just going to... looks like they're just going to flip it around, even though that whole devil thing, they're going to almost pretend that didn't exist.
Well, you could always play it as like, I'm the devil, but I essentially got him before he got me. We're both kind of dirtballs, you know what I mean? But I'm more lovable than he is.
That's the way to spin it. Yeah. And it's MJF is the heel, Adam Cole is the babyface is the right way to go there.
I agreed.
And then that's pretty much it on the AEW front. Not a whole lot of WWE news. Rhea Ripley signed a new 5-year deal. So she's not going anywhere. Not that I don't think a lot of people expected her to.
Yeah.
And then the sad news came through today that Joe Koff, who was the longtime COO of Ring of Honor when it was owned by Sinclair Broadcasting from 2011 to 2022, did pass away. He had a battle with cancer, and he was the reason Ring of Honor didn't close its doors probably around 2011, 2012. He, Gary Juster, and here's the name a lot of people don't like, Jim Cornette. They were the three that kind of brokered the deal to find a buyer for Kerry Silkin when it came time to, we either got to sell this place or close up shop. And Joe Koff was a longtime wrestling fan, but he was in the TV business. So Joe Koff was a guy who was in programming. He actually, his first job in TV was at the one of the TV stations in Florida that aired one of the all-time great wrestling programs, Championship Wrestling from Florida. And he was hooked from there and kind of just rose through the ranks of the TV business, worked for Sinclair Broadcasting. And I know Kerry Silkin himself has put out a statement saying, you don't really understand how many times that place Sinclair could have pulled the plug on that place. They didn't need to have Ring of Honor. And Joe Koff was such an advocate for that company and such an advocate for that brand that he kept it alive for 11 years.
Yeah.
And unfortunately did pass today.
Yeah.
It was announced that he passed today.
Yeah, unfortunate. Definitely if you guys want to maybe pay homage to that, is go subscribe to ROH Premium for a month or two and go watch that great work. And the reason it's still, you can honor it that way, Yeah,
I mean, that era of Ring of Honor, not as, in my opinion, not as memorable as the golden years of Ring of Honor, which is probably like 2006 to, maybe even a little before, because you had the Summer of Punk and everything, like the earlier stuff. But kept it alive, and without him keeping that alive, there's no AEW. And you can draw a straight line to that because
no AEW, no NXT, or NXT wouldn't be as strong.
Right? Yeah, definitely not. But I'm talking about a straight line where Ring of Honor is where the elite kind of come together. Like, yes, they were around in New Japan as well and part of the Bullet Club, but they really kind of congeal around each other in Ring of Honor as well. And Ring of Honor puts up the money for All In. And that's why AEW can use the term All In again. That's why their pay-per-view was called All Out before they bought Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honor owned that show. Ring of Honor put up a lot of the money in the production for that show. Mm-hmm. And then that All In was basically the proof of concept that AEW could work.
Yeah. It's funny thinking about that show.
Ring of Honor stars.
Yeah.
That's wrestling.
The best part about that show is you tune into it, and if you've never watched that show, or like Lilly, for example, she missed 2.5 years or 3 years of AEW, which is insane to think about. Like, for us from the beginning, like it's a weird concept, but like
it's crazy that it's 5 years old now.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Like we were talking about Orange Cassidy stuff, and I was like, oh, like when he wrestled Jericho in the Mimosas, and she's like, what? And then she's seen a clip of it, and she goes, there's a match where they had swimming pools full of orange juice, and I've never seen it.
No one's told me about this. What?
Yeah.
I try to forget it.
But like, she's missed so much of AEW, but it'd be funny for her to go back and watch the original All In and just watch her reaction to how Hangman Adam Page, doesn't he get killed and taken away by druids?
Was that him?
I thought that was Adam Page.
Yeah, because didn't he wrestle the guy that
no longer is allowed to wrestle? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't talk about him anymore.
We know the better version of him. His name's Sexy Eddie.
Right. And the main event that goes 6 minutes because they're running out of pay-per-view time It's an interesting moment in time, that show.
Yeah,
it's an interesting moment in time.
Sounds it.
We should that'll be a review. We'll put that on the list. Maybe we'll watch it tonight and record it and put it up soon.
Is it available anywhere?
There you go.
Yeah.
Is it on Honor Club?
I believe it's on Fight TV, and one of our great listeners gave me their access to their Fight TV, so I believe it's on there. Because I think everything from BR switched over to Fight, and now Fight has all the BR library. So anything you paid for on BR transferred over to your Fight.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I actually watched All In on New Japan World. It took a few days for it to come up, but I was subscribed to New Japan World at the time, and for some reason it was on there.
Oh wow, that is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get into our topic today. So we went through the history of Bret the Hitman Hart. We went through the Showstoppers history, HBK. BP will be representing Team Hitman. I will be representing Team Showstopper, and we will be almost like the vice presidents trying to talk up our president or why they should be that person. The prime minister, our leaders, our gods, however you want to do that. But we are not speaking as the Hitman or Sean. We are speaking for, and hopefully do a good job. Remember, everyone, this is for fun, and this is two wrestling idiots having fun while doing this. All right, is everyone clear? That's your Orson Welles in the beginning. Listen, this is not a real broadcast. The aliens are not taking over. But if you miss it from here on out, who knows how this goes? I will kick it off to Lily, as she will hopefully present this topic.
Hi. Okay. Welcome to the Great Debate, I suppose. So you've already done the introductions on who's who.
Yes.
We're going to start just bang it out with the first question. We're going to start with Team Hitman. What does your candidate bring to wrestling that your opponent does not?
Oh, this is a good one. Thank you. So there's quite a bit, and I would say, and I know there's going to be a retort here. I would say, at least for certain stages of their career, professionalism. Bret Hart was always somebody that could be counted on, didn't miss time over years and years and years, except for one very, very, very famous instance. Was never shy about putting somebody over. He lost the Intercontinental title to the damn Mountie. He lost to the Mountie. Clean. 1, 2, 3 in the middle. Well, I don't know about in the middle. They said he had a fever, but somewhat clean. But he lost to the Mountie. He was always somebody that you could count on to make dates, although he was late a lot. Admittedly, he was late a lot. The only time I think he did not lose a title in the middle of the ring was when he was kicked by Bill Goldberg, that no good stinking hyena Bill Goldberg, and had to retire, and he had to forfeit the WCW title. So, in a word, especially for a certain stage of a certain showstopper's career, what's missing that Bret Hart can bring is professionalism.
All right.
Great answer, by the way. I totally and just for record, I don't know any of these questions. I refuse.
He literally refused to help.
Yeah, I refuse to help her with these questions. So just going into that, I know it may seem biased because she's in the same room.
Oh no! Literally a mental breakdown almost happened earlier.
I refuse. I should cry about it. Figure it out.
She refused to help.
I challenge you. One last thought. I challenge you to find an instance of Bret Hart inserting number 2 into anyone's sandwiches or salads.
Okay.
Maybe a crown. Maybe a crown. I can't say.
Yeah.
I can't say that may or may not have happened.
Yes.
Never in a meal.
I agree. Listen, professionalism is something that the showstopper has struggled with. No excuses for his own, but obviously drug problems and addictions and stuff like that can make people do horrible things. I think what my guy brings to the table, and I can go through his 3 Hall of Fame careers, but I'm going to focus more on his newest one he's working on, and that's giving back to the business. After everything that both guys admittedly have gone through, Bret was the most professional person, lost his brother, lost a lot of family to this business, and not always on the best terms. But I think the difference between the two is I think Sean's last act where he's giving back to the business. So I think that's where Sean stands out of the two in their careers, is where Bret had opportunities to probably give back. He chose to stay away and then wondered why wrestling didn't offer him anything. Sean came back to the business, is now teaching the next generation and trying to make the business a better place. So I'll keep it short and sweet there, but I'll maybe counteract with professionalism going to, helping the next generation of professional wrestlers.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you. Beautiful insight. Going off of that.
Try not to be a degenerate in this debate. I got my fancy sweater on.
Oh, don't freaking tie me to you right now. This is not okay. Yeah, okay. ABJ. Which candidate drew more of a crowd and speaks to the people more?
Ooh. This is tough. Admittedly, I believe, during Brett's run, he was a better draw as a champion. But I think when it comes to, speaking to the people, I think there's a degenerate age where, you were one side or the other. And I think he talked to that more rebellious, speak out, change the system, get rid of this older style and bring in this new sports entertainment style professional wrestling. So I think, Sean is a guy who speaks to the people in that aspect. Does that come with a caveat of maybe the lack of professionalism or not being a good person? Sure. But to make waves or to make an omelet, you got to crack a couple eggs. And so that's why I would say when it speaks to the people, I think more people are rocking around with the Generation X stuff currently in professional wrestling as much, if not more, than Hitman gear.
I would say that the kickoff, the blast in the Attitude Era and that more risque style is something that you can attribute more directly to Steve Austin. And there's going to be more Austin 316 shirts than DX and Hitman shirts combined. So as far as this, the numbers don't lie here. So Bret Hart was the main. Let's look at two specific title reigns. Bret Hart's second WWF title reign from WrestleMania 10 in 1994 until the Survivor Series when he loses it to Bob Backlund. Shawn Michaels' title reign from when he beats Bret Hart, who did put him over clean in the ring 1, 2, 3 at WrestleMania 12. To when he loses it to Sid at WrestleMania or Survivor Series 1996. I said 97, I meant 96. So the average house show attendance, 1993, 1.6 million. 1996, 1.4 million. The buy rate for SummerSlam, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart in 1994, 235,000 pay-per-view buys. For Shawn Michaels versus Vader in 1996, 157,000. Almost 100,000 less.
They were troubling times where our country had COVID. This is the Monday Night Wars.
ABJ, you had your time. Go on.
The Survivor Series. This one's a little closer. Bret Hart loses to Bob Backlund, 169,000 pay-per-view buys. 1996, 160,000 for Survivor Series. However, one of the really, really, really highly promoted matches at that 1996 Survivor Series, it was the return of Bret Hart.
Okay. All right. BP, what would your candidate say in defense of negative image in the media, in the press?
I think Bret Hart would say if anybody has the right to be bitter about the wrestling business, it's Bret Hart. He had a concussion. He had a stroke. He was infamously screwed. His brother died in performing a stunt for a wrestling show. So the accusations that Bret Hart is this bitter person, if anybody has the right to be, it's Bret Hart, for sure. Now, I think it's also overblown because Bret Hart is honest. A lot of people paint a rosy picture of things because they're looking for that WWE payday. They're looking for that handout. They don't want to burn bridges. It used to be you don't want to burn bridges with Vince. Now it's you don't want to burn bridges with Hunter. And Bret Hart knows. Bret Hart doesn't give a damn. Bret Hart's going to say what's on his mind. He's going to not be afraid to pull punches. He's the guy you bring in when you want to talk about Eric Bischoff and who killed WCW, when you want to talk about Vince and the Mr. McMahon documentary, because you know Bret Hart's going to shoot straight. And the reason he is because he is not looking for that handout. He's perfectly fine existing outside of the WWE ecosystem, which you cannot say for a lot of legends in professional wrestling.
Yeah, and your mic's popping a little bit, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I will try to stay still. I don't know what's going on there, but that is, I think so. And yeah, does Bret still hate Bill Goldberg? Yeah, of course he does. If somebody kicked me in the face, scrambled my brain, I had to retire. and then 4 years later, I had a stroke, I would be pretty mad at that guy too. Does he take it a little too far? Sure, but he is a guy who is refreshingly honest, and sometimes brutal honesty can be confused for bitterness.
Interesting. What do you have to say about that, ABJ?
Listen, I think if anyone has outward spokenly about his past, that it is Sean, admitting to probably more than she should have, a lot in his career. But it's once again, they could have easily taken that path and been angry and bitter and continue to be that person, but they chose to grow within the industry instead of always maybe bashing it because it didn't work out in your favor when you were there.
Yikes. ABJ, how would your candidate help end the war with performance-enhancing drugs?
First off, my client has never done them. That steroid test is horseshit. He admitted to everything in his career. Steroids are not one of them. My guy hits the gym. But no, I think you look at the landscape of professional wrestling now, and some of the biggest guys coming out of the Triple H, Shawn Michaels era of NXT aren't really huge bodybuilder guys. I think they are very conscious of that now, and trying to maybe not, and even making the locker room safe from not just steroids,
obviously,
but all drugs. I think that's a very big goal that I think WWE's doing pretty decent at. I don't think you see a lot of the huge guys there that are clearly on some stuff, or maybe if they were, they're not as much as they were. Yeah, they're all. All right, that's all I got.
That's not a shot at Shawn Michaels. That's a shot at that's a shot at AEW.
Yeah.
Yikes. All right, Fifi.
Okay, so I think it's worth noting that when the WWF was at the height of its steroid scandal, at the very peak of this being an issue, at least until it became a big thing again after Eddie Guerrero died, that when Hogan had to go away for a little while, and when the Ultimate Warrior and British Bulldog quit because they knew they had to get off the gas, and we need a person who is going to lead the charge into a new era of the WWF, where we are drug free, where we are clean cut, where we are playing by the rules. Who are we going to get to exemplify this? Bret Hart. Bret Hart is the guy who takes the title, leads the charge, and is that guy. And there has never been an issue with Bret Hart, except for like the Dynamite Kid alleging things in his book. Like Shawn Michaels, maybe not performance enhancing drugs, but he certainly had an issue with performance reducing drugs. I would say that much. And one of the things when you look back at these, steroids get all the press, but the real thing that took so many lives and shortened so many careers and ruined so many people were the somas. And it's not entirely the fault of the wrestlers. It's the fact that you're putting your body through so much that you need to take a fistful of painkillers just to keep going. And
Right.
and that's not to say Shawn Michaels was alone in that, and I'm sure Bret Hart has taken a painkiller or two in his life too. But I think you can, as far as major stars in professional wrestling, I don't think anybody has as clean a record on something like that this side of CM Punk as Bret Hart does.
Okay. How would you say that your candidate? How do you think your candidate would help to advance the future generations of wrestling?
I'm up on this one.
I believe.
I think BP
yeah.
started
BP.
on this one.
So with Bret, it's leading by example. Yes, he's not in a position where his best friend is in a position of power in the company and has put him in charge of a developmental territory. However, there are a lot of guys out there, and you can say this for both people. I'll be honest with this. You can say this for both people. There are a lot of guys out there who are studying their Bret Hart. You can tell the Bret guys. You can tell the people who really, really, really exemplify what he does in the ring. And they're usually the Timothy Thatchers of the world, the Daniel Garcias of the world, the people who have that no-nonsense technical style. And I think Bret really led by example, where now Shawn Michaels, and yes, he is doing a great job with NXT, but he's also almost in the situation of do as I say, not as I did. If you're looking for people to emulate your wrestling career after, you can do a lot worse than Bret Hart. A lot worse.
Yeah, I think it just becomes making yourself available. Yes, Sean's not out in the scene as he should be because he can go back to WWE, but the same rights and wants for Bret to show up in a locker room every now and then or to a show to help the next generation. I'm not sure that I'm pretty sure every company has that door open and has offered that door to Bret. He just chooses not to do it for whatever reasons, his strokes and his health and everything else, and just maybe just wanting to worry about himself now. But Sean is back in the industry doing what he's got to do. I think when it comes to both these people, I think the blueprint of professional wrestling goes through both of them. I think there's not, you could say you're a Bret guy or a Sean guy, but when you're looking at the two best aspects of professional wrestling, whether it be the technical professionalism side of Bret or the high-flying sports entertainment, tell a story that Sean can do, you can't go wrong with either one of them. But yeah, I just think when it comes to the next generation, Sean is 100% going above and beyond doing that, and it's already the proof's in the pudding with watching NXT that you could watch in about an hour and 30 minutes.
Okay. In terms of ABJ, you're starting this one. In terms of controversial storylines, how far is too far, and is there anything that your candidate maybe we should have taken back, or that wouldn't hold up in today's,
Oh yeah, most of what my client has done in storylines.
I like how you're coming at it from a lawyer perspective, and not like you're like my client,
my
your
client.
candidate.
Yeah,
your
most
candidate.
of my candidates' storylines would not work at all in today's times. Going too far, that they wrote the blueprint on it. They're very well aware of it, but you don't know where the line is unless it's pushed every now and then when it comes to entertainment and media. Does a lot of the old school heads like a lot of that stuff? Not at all. They hate it. It's despised upon by most wrestling purists and journalists, but I think it's proof in the pudding that style of wrestling has saved professional wrestling, taking it more from the sports side and go to the sports entertainment. And I think my client leads the charge on that. Like I said, controversy and going too far is what made my client special. And he learned to adapt and change the game to him and not be so bitter when the game does change later on, and grow with it throughout the generations after that. Because Sean came back during the Ruthless Aggression era where you couldn't do that. Then this modern era, he's helped leading the charge in what wrestling is right now. He's very adaptable.
All right. BP?
Okay, so with this is actually, in my opinion, a big reason why Vince tried to get out of that contract. I did do a deeper dive. I fell down a Montreal Screwjob rabbit hole recently after the Bret show. I should have done it before the Bret show. I think we covered it pretty well anyway.
It came out that night, right? That we did the Bret show was when the Vince McMahon.
No, I think it had been
started.
out. But
Anyway,
I think it had already been out, but I took an even deeper dive, and I was listening to interviews with Bret, with a lot of other people. So the initial thing where they felt like they had to get out of the contract was because WWE was thinking about going public. They needed to clear off long-term debt. They were trying to take out a loan because business was really hurting in 1997 before it started to pick up. In 1996, rather. No, 97, I was right the first time, before it really started to kick in the high gear. And the Bret contract was a bit of an albatross just because it was so long. They were committed to this guy for 20 years. However, one of the things they did in a few months before Bret left is they wound up raising the price of pay-per-views, and the ticket sales started to get better. Steve Austin was really taking off, and one of the reasons Steve Austin took off the way he did, and 100% of the credit on that is to Steve Austin, but Bret Hart helped him get there. Bret Hart did a whole lot more for Steve Austin getting to that level and really being able to be the flag bearer of the Attitude Era than Shawn Michaels did. And yeah, did anybody ever have to tape their fist to make sure that Bret went out to wrestle Steve Austin?
I'm just saying, if you want to look at the history,
Did
if Sean doesn't do the curtain call, Triple H is your King of the Ring, and King of the Ring was a huge launching point for Stone Cold.
This is my time. Thank you. So
I'm so
yes.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Stop it.
Yes, you're right. Yes,
Restrain yourself.
Sean being horrendously unprofessional did lead to the Austin 316 promo. You're 100% correct. So the thing I'm getting at here is by the time that Brett actually opts out of his contract and Vince is putting that on the table, their money problems are kind of gone and they can afford Brett. But I think they knew that we're going in a super risque point to this where there's going to be a lot of swearing. There's going to be a lot of violence against women, like women getting put through tables and being stripped down to their bra and panties. And Brett was not going to be cool with that. There were some things, full disclosure, Brett, a lot of the stuff with Sean, there was a tinge of homophobia in there. No two ways about it. So it's not like his record is squeaky clean, but the fact that I think that the idea that Vince knew that Brett was going to be a problem when it came to a lot of these risque stories, and that's one of the reasons I want to push him out the door and make him, we're better off without him. Goes to show that, yeah, he probably had a line that was well to his line is closer to what Sean's line was when he came back, and when he had found religion, and when he would do DX, but he wouldn't do the crotch chops, he wouldn't do the sexual innuendo. Really, that was Brett then.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, my next question: who is to blame for the Montreal screw job? Starting with BP.
Vince McMahon, 100% Vince McMahon. So normally it's normally an issue where if you say if the promoter tells you you're losing, unless you have in your contract for the last 30 days of this deal, I have reasonable creative control. And everything that Vince has said about this is completely wrong. They're saying, oh, Brett's going to show up on Nitro the next night and drop the WWF title in a trash can. No, he wasn't. There was literally ongoing litigation where they were forbidden to do that. They would not have allowed him to do that. His WCW contract didn't even start until December. They were going to let him. Bischoff had verbally agreed, and who knows if he would have stuck to it. They had agreed to let him stay on until December's In Your House to drop the title. I believe the plan, they were going to do like a 4-way with Brett, Sean, Shamrock, and Steve Austin. It was going to be elimination style. Austin was going to eliminate Brett. Somebody was going to eliminate Austin, and Michaels would wind up winning it that way. So the idea that Brett was going to show up on Nitro the next night with the WWF title, or they were going to, they even had an agreement verbally again that they weren't even going to mention Bret Hart. They weren't even going to mention Bret Hart on Nitro until that title was off of him. The very fact that all of this rationale that Vince McMahon gives to say that I had to do this, no, you didn't. You really didn't. You wanted to, and Vince does what he wants. Secondary responsible is Shawn Michaels, because if he doesn't ever say in the locker room in, where was it, San Jose, that October, a month before the screw job, thank you for agreeing to put me over, I wouldn't do it for you. If he doesn't utter those words, if he doesn't say that to Bret Hart probably wouldn't have had a problem losing.
Interesting. Your retort.
I would agree 100%. Vince, at the end of the day, the boss should handle the thing, and he shouldn't leave it to anyone else to make that decision for him. But when it comes down to Brett, Brett is painted out to be this Captain America-ish professional wrestling figure that is his word is gospel. He's a straight shooter, but he's just at fault for if things don't go exactly his way, or if it's not if the tea's not the same temperature each time. He is a little bit of a diva in him, as well as Sean does. And at the end of the day, like, it comes down to understanding again. Like, for Brett to be this well-adjusted, figured everything out type guy, where he has everything. He should have seen that Sean was going through what he was going through, and maybe been more understanding and been like, "Yo, this kid's just being a little punk right now. He's drug issues. I'm out of this company anyway. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to drop the belt and I'm going to go make the bit. It's more money than I've ever had in my wrestling career." But I would 100% agree, 100% that it goes down to Vince McMahon first.
Okay. I have but one question left.
All right. A
Why,
great debate coming down to the very last question.
why does your candidate deserve to be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers? I'm not saying the greatest, but up with them.
Who starts this one? Me.
Yep.
So the Mount Rushmore, I'm going to be honest, I don't think either one of our people make it to that Mount Rushmore.
Okay. Why is
For how much they deserve to be spoken on that, we can go on for days. But both of their title runs were them coming together and going through what they went through changed the course of professional wrestling forever, but not at a mainstream level, if that makes any sense. They didn't go on to do Rock style stuff, Stone Cold style stuff, where they kind of like broke into the world, because during that time when they're going through what they're going through, WCW's nipping at their heels and all that stuff. But it depends what your Mount Rushmore says. Like, Shawn Michaels is the first guy to win the Rumble. He's a very first time
all
guy.
right? Let me ask a different question.
No, you keep it the way it is. But I think what puts him on that rock is the first time match material stuff, first time title match ladder, first time elimination chamber, first guy to win the Rumble from number one. I believe not the first 2-time Rumble, but the list is there. Done first Grand Slam champion. Held a lot of great accomplishments. And on top of that, just like I said, not one but 2 Hall of Fame careers. He's learned to fight back in adversity, and probably has a longer in-ring career than most people who are on the Mount Rushmore list. But unfortunately, probably didn't make as big of an impact as some of the other people did.
Yeah, neither one of these guys has the impact of you want to go way back in the day, a Bruno Sammartino or a Hogan, or a Steve Austin, who didn't do it for very long, or a John Cena even. That's probably your Mount Rushmore for WWE, are those 4. With Brett, it's really about being that beacon of consistency. It's really about being the guy who they always turn to when times were down. You could always count on Brett until, again, that one very specific thing where, because he had it in his contract and because the guy said he wouldn't do it for him, he's like, nope, I'm putting my foot down. And then they did it anyway. But before that, we have a steroid scandal. We got to get the title on somebody that's not a steroid guy. Hey, Brett, come on in. Oh man, this Diesel thing's not working, and we want to give Shawn a run at the top. How do we get the belt from Diesel to Shawn? Brett, come on in. You're gonna be a transitional champion now. Yeah, we're getting our asses kicked in this Monday Night War, and we need a spark. We need a shot in the arm. We have this guy Steve Austin, and he is money, but he needs somebody that's going to pull him up to that main event level. And I think if we put Shawn with him, Shawn's just going to bury him. Shawn's all about Shawn. Shawn's not going to elevate Steve Austin the way we want him to be elevated. Brett, come on in. Have 2 all-time great matches with Steve Austin. Brett was always that guy who, if you needed something done, you went to Bret Hart. And it's funny because they don't like each other. It's the same way WCW treated Ric Flair. Oh, we messed everything up. We had to fire Sid because he stabbed Arn Anderson with scissors. Break the glass, bring out Ric Flair. It was the exact same thing in the WWF. Oh, our big superstar with the big head, the big ego let us down, whether it's Hulk Hogan, whether it's Shawn Michaels, whether it's the Ultimate Warrior, no matter who it is. Brett will fix it. Come on in, Brett. And that is something that I think every wrestler should strive for. It's not an individual business, and it's a work. Yeah, Shawn Michaels was a Grand Slam champion and won the Royal Rumble from number 1 because Vince McMahon wanted it that way. It's a work. He didn't really win those matches. He got in a fight with Brett when Brett had a bum knee, and Brett still beat him. So it's all I think with Brett, it's more of, I think even though Shawn was more of the showman, Brett was the one that understood more, again, until he didn't, that it was a show. And yes, he had an outsized opinion of himself, but when push came to shove, 99 times out of 100, you could count on Bret Hart to do the right thing.
I have another question. Popped in. What do you think is the most underrated thing about your candidate? BP starts.
His character work. Definitely his character work. Am I saying Bret Hart was John Cena or The Rock or Steve Austin or Dusty Rhodes on the mic? No. But I think he's better than people gave him credit for. He had a character that some people may have found a little dry, but his character was this no-nonsense. I grew up in wrestling. I was practically born in a wrestling ring. guy, and he really got it over. He really got it over the fact that he is a technician of the highest order. Bret Hart never went to the Olympics. Bret Hart wasn't Kurt Angle, but people believed. People believed he was the excellence of execution. They believed he was this legitimate guy, and to a degree, he was. He was like a high school wrestler. I think he wrestled in college, maybe, but he wasn't Kurt Angle. He wasn't Brock Lesnar. And then when you go to WCW, a lot of his WCW run was bad, but you kind of got to see a different side of Bret. You got to see the Bret that was a little silly, a little funny. The hypnosis psychosis promo, the El Dandy promo is incredible. It's better for me. I enjoyed that promo. I look back and laugh at that promo more than any Shawn Michaels promo I've ever seen. So I would definitely think because everybody the knock on Bret is always incredible wrestler, but the character work's not there. And I think that's a little overstated. I'm not saying he was an A+ as far as that stuff goes, but he wasn't an F-.
All right.
I think when it comes to in-ring selling character, being the showman, doing all that, I think it goes without saying that's what Shawn's best known for. But I think what he's more underrated for than all of that is what he actually has done for the business and his influence in on the business. I think when you look at the Attitude Era, everyone says they go Austin and then they go Rock and they go them, but they ran because Shawn set that tone first. I how you said a lot of the Attitude Era is credited to Austin, and I think it is, but I think the Attitude Era starts with Shawn Michaels, and it doesn't, and he's the anchor to that because of the style he was bringing, not to just what was being seen on TV, but just to the character and what wrestling can be. I think the guy has been a game changer when it comes to how we even perceive wrestling because of things like the Montreal Screwjob and the beef with Bret Hart. I think he made Bret the most relevant time of his career was when he was working with Shawn Michaels, because everyone knew Bret can go and do all the great matches, but where he lacked was his charisma, his character, and people wanting to like the guy. And Shawn exploited his lack of that with character, but also made his fans love him even more. I think we look at modern day wrestling with the Elite and the Clique and the Bullet Club and all of the NWO. That's all because of Shawn and the real Clique and everyone trying to recreate that, but instead of doing it behind the closed doors, they're trying to do it in front of people because it was fucking cool. And they realized how influencing they were.
I'll let the Four Horsemen know that Shawn Michaels invented wrestling staples.
Listen, the Four Horsemen are correct, good, but the guy took a backstage gimmick and now modern day wrestling, every stable tries to be that.
If you're gonna say worked shoots are a good thing, that's a whole other debate.
I'm not saying they're good. I'm just saying I think it shows how cool they were and how much people really influenced people and shown that with the right attitude and the willing to take risks, you can change the game. And I think the Clique behind scenes did that, and I think it carried over to people wanting to recreate that ever since.
And that's a fair point, but I do also think that it's a lot of remembering the successes and forgetting the failures. I think one of the reasons, and a lot of the struggles WWF had in the early stages of the Monday Night War are because WCW was doing a lot right at that time, and it was kind of the only time they were doing a lot right with the NWO. However, it's not.
But the NWO was two guys who were living the Clique and putting it on camera for everyone to see.
Was one of those two guys Shawn Michaels?
No, but the two guys were his two best friends who were in the Clique with him.
We're not debating Scott Hall versus Bret Hart. We're not debating Kevin Nash versus Bret Hart. We're debating Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. And it's also not the only thing that it's part of the NWO, but that's only part of it. There's another kind of thing there, and it's the whole overall view of this is a company this is a group that's taking over, and that is what it really was. Not these people are really friends and here they are. It was the original thing that sparked the NWO. It's holy shit, Vince McMahon sending these guys down to kill WCW. That has nothing to do with Shawn Michaels. That has everything to do with Eric Bischoff. Actually, I'm gonna praise Eric Bischoff here. Eric Bischoff went to Japan in 1994 or maybe 93. It was somewhere around. It was pre-NWO. Eric Bischoff goes to Japan, and there was a company in Japan called UWFI. UWFI was. They didn't have no ropes or anything, but it was a lot like Bloodsport. This is professional wrestling. This is a work. This is predetermined. but we are going to present this as authentic and realistic as possible. It was essentially worked MMA when MMA was still in its infancy, and Bischoff went over there because UWFI ran its course and was going out of business, and they did a thing where UWFI was against New Japan, and it packed the Tokyo Dome. It was huge, and Eric Bischoff said, "This is it. This is money." The idea of a rival company coming in and trying to take over a different company is money. And Japan had done that before, because it was when, I believe, Akira Maeda, and I could be wrong on this, when Akira Maeda left All Japan and kicked the guy in the face and really broke his orbital bone and came over to another place. It was like, oh, this guy's real, this guy's dangerous, and this is really happening. They're really trying to come in and mess with him. And I think that is not something you can credit Shawn Michaels for. That is something that yes, the little hand sign and the camaraderie, but a lot of that is just I as far as the aura of the NWO, I give credit to Kevin Nash for that, because that's who Kevin Nash is. Kevin Nash is a funny guy who is like, I think McFoley called him the world's tallest stand-up comedian. So I don't really think it's fair. I think you're giving Shawn a lot of credit for things. Let's talk about the downside of the Click now. If he were still alive, you could ask Chris Candido what the downside of the Click is. You could ask Shane Douglas what the downside of the Click was. And Chris Candido got buried and fired because Shawn Michaels wanted to be able to cheat on his girlfriend, to have an affair with Chris Candido's girlfriend. That got Chris Candido pushed out of the company. Let's ask PCO. Let's ask PCO what the downside of the Click was, because he was told that he was going to be able to beat Diesel in his hometown. And Shawn Michaels, not even Diesel, said, no, we're not going to do that. And then he got depushed. Let's ask Bam Bam Bigelow, if he were still alive, what the downside of the Click is. One of the reasons that the roster in 1994, 1995, 1996 was so thin is because the Click pushed all these guys away. These are all really talented people we're talking about. And they got pushed out by 5 guys who were trying to protect their spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And once again, learning from those mistakes and hopefully changing it for the next generation.
And guess who came to the rescue after all those guys left?
God.
Bret Hart. No, Bret Hart.
For Shawn, it was God. But
God didn't even show up to that tag team match against the man.
Because he had to go through his trials and tribulations, BP. But that's going to do it for a great debate.
Well, do you have any closing statements for why
no,
we should vote Shawn? Or
I think, I mean, do you have any closing statements?
I think I've made my case.
I think I agree. I agree. I think there's ways to look at this, and hopefully let us know in the comments what you think. If we swayed you from Team Brett to Team Shawn, or what it may be. I almost threw a jab in there. It was right there, and I swallowed it. I swallowed it back. But let us know what you think. We do have some cool stuff coming up. I wish I could pop the stuff on screen, but I'm not as good at this new program, and I'm a little devil's lettuce up. So I can't do anything right now of complication. So thank you guys. Let us know what you thought of it. Next week will be the episode of the Freebirds. Maybe some new merchandise dropping if Lilly can find the font. Maybe we'll have a little Bad Street USA spoof for Tornado Tag for you guys. And then following,
if you haven't, I know you two have, but if audience, if you haven't watched the Iron Claw yet, this is a good time before the Freebirds episode, because there's a lot of overlap between the Von Erichs and the Freebirds.
Yes. So that one, and then we will
go back and rewatch it again. Got it.
Yeah, and then we will be doing the history of Halloween Havoc to close out the month of October. I actually went back and been skimming through some Halloween Havocs, and it's so funny how they try to make the shows super serious. Like, these guys are taking this real serious back there. All right, just real quick, I just let everyone know this is serious, because like the ending match was so wild. They wanted to make sure everything else was still based in reality.
Have you watched the Chamber of Horrors match yet?
I've seen it. I don't know if she's seen it.
Yeah,
with
Abdullah.
Abdullah the Butcher in the electric chair. Yeah.
Definitely have not seen it.
Yeah. So we're gonna.
Excuse me. It's the Chair of Torture.
The Chair of Torture.
The Chair of Torture.
Oh Lord.
So that will be coming up, Halloween Havoc, and we'll be at. So actually, huge reason why I'm trying to end this is so I can actually watch NXT, because we should probably know a little bit what's going on before we show for Halloween Havoc.
It's not on for an hour. You're good.
Yeah. listen, I have a lot going on right now. I need to get some food in me. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. We do have some episodes out right now. Dr. Ethan Wild podcast is out currently. You can go watch that on the channel. This Friday will be Kit Raff doing his 5 questions, ABJ Not Cool in High School Horror. Country Club Brewing, 5 questions, and the episode for Bangin' Beers will be dropping on Monday the 21st. And also, maybe she didn't write this down, but I think we're going to do next Thursday. I think we're going to start at 8 o'clock at night. Will be the Halloween review with Kit Raff. So I have to make a graphic for that too. Right. But that's going to do it.
Also, check out the monster truck match from 1995 Halloween Havoc.
Oh my God!
The monster truck match on the roof of Cobo Hall and the aftermath of it.
That'll definitely be on the list.
Don't watch anything good. Don't watch Guerrero and Mysterio.
Yeah.
Don't watch that. Watch all the goofy stuff.
Absolutely. So check out that joining the channel. You can do $1 tier, $5 tier, get you all the bonus content. Anything above that is you're just amazing. Super chats on donations are available if you guys want to hit those up on the YouTube side and Twitch. We'll see you guys on the next one. Here's Tornado Tag Podcast. We are out of here.